I'm Richard Diaz, Water Infrastructure Field Manager with the BlueGreen Alliance. Countless studies tell us that even at very low levels of lead exposure, considerable damage is done to human beings, from poor school performance, learning disabilities, and behavioral issues in youth, to hypertension, kidney disease, and reproductive issues in adults. A 2014 Wisconsin Department of Health Services report shares that youth lead exposure is a greater indicator of poor school performance than poverty or class size. And as adults, these youth become 50% more likely to be arrested for violent crime for every 5 micrograms per deciliter of lead in their blood. Research also tells us that the cost of responding to lead poisoning far exceeds the cost of prevention. In 2021, the federal government passed the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which provided federal dollars for lead service line replacement across the country from 2022 to 2026. For the first 4 years of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the state of Wisconsin has received $362.7 million from the federal government to replace lead service lines. This film seeks to highlight the progress gained across 3 different cities in the state of Wisconsin that are replacing lead service lines. We will talk with mayors, utility experts, unions, contractors, and workers about the impact this funding has made. We'll discuss how jobs have been created, the importance of why lead service lines need to be replaced, and what will happen after 2026 if funding discontinues.
When I moved to Milwaukee after I did my training, the level of lead poisoning that I encountered on Milwaukee's north side really blew my mind. Lead poisoning is devastating. It is a toxin, and the lead is getting into all the different systems in their body, but in particular, in these small little bodies and brains, it's the brains that are getting affected. And you just know before you even check the level that it's gonna be high. It's like their little brains are on fire. Like, you know it the second you walk into the room, they're everywhere. And then the thing about lead that is so devastating is that it's permanent. It's more like an actual injury to the brain. When I'm doing the screen and it's already high, it's too late. I'm gonna do my best with more follow-up blood tests, I'll give medications, but the damage has been done. And so then you see that kind of evolve, from the very difficult to manage toddlers to the difficulties of then being in school, the effects on IQ, learning. I mean, it just manifests all the way through. I've read studies where they've shown that can be one of the highest predictors of ending up in prison, actually, is lead levels. And it's so, you would never know maybe what their true potential could have been. And I think that's so devastating. It would be much more financially beneficial to just stop this whole process before it even starts. The costs go on and on, as opposed to what if it was one big investment on the get-go? There's just no lead to even ingest, which in other parts of the country and the world, that is how it is. A kid can be a kid and not have to worry about this. Safe drinking water should be a basic human right, and all kids deserve that.
We're here in the city of Wausau, Wisconsin. Wausau has received $15 million to perform lead service line replacement. The money comes from the Safe Drinking Water Loan Program at the state of Wisconsin, which received an infusion of funds from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. All right, what do we got going on here?
Install crews. We are cutting off the old lead off the water main, and then, installing the copper.
Okay, and you guys are working at multiple houses on this block.
Yes, we try and do 6 a day.
And all union employees, right?
Absolutely.
All union, wow. Okay, walk us through these different machines. What do we got here?
So over here we got the directional bore.
Okay.
Like I said, that rod that sticks out in front there, that's gonna bore underground. We've got a locate box that tells us how deep he is, where he is in the ground, and then we can generally get it in the house in a 1 foot by 1 foot square.
Okay.
We can pop up. We hook that roll of copper on right over there to the end of the drill head and pull the copper back out, unroll it as it goes, send the plumber in there and hook it on up. Sounds pretty easy. It's definitely a skill. So.
I've been doing construction most of my life. We got a training facility here in the state of Wisconsin down in DeFrost. The labor's union is pro training. They get good companies involved and send quality workers to work and perform the tasks that are required.
Well, this is some really important work you're doing here, Dwayne, protecting kids from childhood lead poisoning. What do you want people to know about why this work is important? What would you say?
To keep the communities safe in this country. I feel like we're doing something worthwhile. You know, lead lines, look at the lead poisoning, and I think this infrastructure of this country is very important, that we need to continue and not let it fall behind. Roadways, water lines, you name it, or bridges, everything, it all goes hand in hand. If funding's cut, it means I'm gonna have to look for a new job.
Appreciate your time, Dwayne.
Not a problem.
All right. How busy have you been since the infrastructure bill passed back in 2021? What does that mean for your company? How has that impacted your workers and those actually replacing lines?
It's putting a lot of people to work. I know that for a fact. 0 time off equals a happy worker. I haven't hardly had any time off, so we're super busy.
What has it been like in the field, right? Like, what are you hearing from the neighbors, right? You told me a story about people are trying to flag you down the street. They want clean water too, yeah.
A lot of people are just waiting for us to get there. They know what's going on and they see it, and they're just hungry for it. It takes a lot of money to replace these lines. A lot of people don't have that money just laying around and say, okay, yeah, let's get clean water and fix it themselves. Yeah. So to me, this is a great thing. I like the work that we're doing. It makes me feel good at the end of the day to know that, okay, we made their lives healthier.
Sure.
By taking this out.
Yeah.
I have young children, so for me, it really tugs at my heart. For me, my guys, it's keeping us going as well. And that goes back out into the community as well. First and foremost, it's getting the poison out of the ground. And yeah. I hate to use that word, yeah. But that's what it is. It's no good for you.
It is poison.
Yep. It's about time we change that and switch everything out.
We have a long-standing known public health issue that is prevalent throughout the community. So 8,000 lines in a community of 40,000 people. Last year, we replaced 605 lines. We'll do a little over 1,500 this year, and we'll get them all done within 5 years.
How has the bipartisan infrastructure law's investment in replacing lead lines impacted your work here in Wausau?
I think it wouldn't exist without that. I think the single biggest problem and what the law did a great job of addressing was prioritizing public side replacements, particularly in disadvantaged communities. So the structure of that, the acts is the single biggest reason that programs like Wausau's are allowed to exist.
Right of entry has been one of the biggest barriers across the country, right? Like, people can't get in, utilities can't get in, contractors can't get in. If you were talking to a room full of green utilities looking to build their lead service line replacement program, you know, how should they go about getting right of entries?
I think it's really where community-based organizations and nonprofits come in. They know the community, they look like the community, they understand the sensitivities culturally within different pockets of the community, as opposed to sort of the more traditional hard hat vest approach. You leave a door hanger on, and if you get somebody, you get somebody. If you don't, it doesn't really matter. It's not a one size, one look fits all. It's how do you customize it to the pockets of people you're trying to reach and communicate with. And the long-term impact of that is we're currently sitting on over 3,000 rights of entry as we sit here today. So that takes us all through this current year, and we already have a head start on next year, what we need to be able to just keep banging through work.
What will happen to Wausau's program if funding discontinues?
I think there's a lot of downstream impact to having lead service lines still in the ground, that if you can eradicate over there and repurpose that money here, ultimately over the long term, there's savings to be had on the health and services side.
You know, one of the things that I love about being mayor is it really is where government is closest to the people. And if you love your community and want to improve it, there's really no more important job that you could seek than being the mayor. And that's a great honor, but it's a great responsibility. So I feel a sense of duty and opportunity and responsibility to take this particular issue on and do the really hard work of finding a way to remove 12,000 pipes from under the street and out of people's homes and giving them safer drinking water.
Speak to me about the demographics of the people of Racine. You know, Racine ranks as one of the, toughest communities economically across the state.
It's a very similar story you hear in the upper Midwest, a manufacturing city that's deindustrialized, that once had much more family supporting wage jobs, that were heavily unionized in the manufacturing base. And so we've lost some of that in the last generation. More of our houses were built before World War II than after, right? Which means the vast majority of our homes have lead service lines in them, right? What you will find is the spaces where we need to replace these lead service lines are the places where working class people live. They are more diverse. They're more likely to be majority minority. And so it's just, it can't be that certain parts of the community have new infrastructure that's safe and available for drinking water and other parts don't. There's no safe level of lead for young children to be exposed to. So 0 is the right answer, right? So you can minimize some things. We put additives into the water supply so that the lead pipes don't corrode and keep the lead levels down. But the answers that the federal government has come up with, which is the right answer, is we need to get rid of the lead in the water. It's just absolutely critical. If it weren't for the bipartisan infrastructure law, we would still slowly be replacing lead service lines, but it would literally have taken another 30 years to do it at the rate that we were going. The bipartisan infrastructure law means that the resources are there and we're gonna get it done in the next 5 to 6 years.
We only got one more federal year of bipartisan infrastructure law dollars in federal year 26. What would it mean for your community if funding just stopped?
That means 10,000 more households, 10,000 more kids who live in those households are gonna have to wait another whole generation to have those lead pipes exposed. And there's no redo for kids' childhood, right? They're trying to learn and have brain development and all that thing. I mean, I think everybody agrees people should have access to safe drinking water. It's such an elemental thing, right? But it does take real resources to be able to do that. I don't want to lose another generation of kids because we're fighting over infrastructure dollars in Washington.
What does lead service line replacement in Milwaukee look like currently?
But Milwaukee is home to roughly half of the state of Wisconsin's lead service lines. And so we needed to accelerate that work. And that's where our partnership with the federal government, pulling down resources from the bipartisan infrastructure law, came into place. So we went from being able to replace roughly 1,000 lead service lines a year to being able to ramp that up. And I think this year we're scheduled to replace over 3,000 lead service lines. In fact, just earlier this year, we celebrated the 10,000th lead service line that was removed in the city of Milwaukee.
What were your thoughts when you found out that this money was going to be available?
I was extremely happy and extremely grateful, because in local government, we don't have the resource, we don't have the savings necessarily to dip into that account to pay for something that's as extensive and as expensive as the endeavor that we're undertaking right now, which is removing all the lead service lines in Milwaukee.
What does it mean if this money dries up?
If the money dries up here, it would put us in a really, really difficult position. Whether or not the funding is there, the problem persists. Those lead service lines are still out there. They still need to be removed. And we've been doing such a good job the past number of years of ramping up to take more of those out of commission and replacing them to make sure we have safe, clean water going into homes all across Milwaukee. I don't want to see us end up reversing course on that. And so I'm hopeful that our partners at other levels of government will also see to that. We'll also understand the value proposition that we're talking about, right? So let's make this investment on the front end so that we can have productive, contributing members to society, and we can make sure that every young person in Milwaukee is able to live out their God-given talent and potential. And that's what government's job is, really, right? If you're in private business, it's to make profits perhaps for your shareholders. For us in government, we make investments in society. Our profit is having caring, contributing people who help to enhance society as we know it. And we can accomplish those things by working to make sure we continue the pace that we've set, and increasing the pace even, with removing lead service lines in Milwaukee.
I'm here today with Rashawn Spivey of Hero Plumbing, who is showing how the infrastructure bill dollars are being put to good use.
My mother worked for the plumbing business. I remember being on the truck even when I was 6 or 8.
And when you first became a plumber, did you Did you know that you were going to be protecting people's drinking water? Did you know that you were going to save kids from childhood lead
No,
poisoning?
I didn't know. When I first got involved, that was as a child, so I really didn't know what I was looking at. I just knew I had to carry the toolbox and hold the light the right way. Well, it worked out good for me. I bought my first car from doing plumbing.
Okay. That's amazing.
That was 30 years ago at this time in these same neighborhoods.
Now, how does it feel being a black business owner and a black plumber in the state of Wisconsin?
Well, it hasn't been many black plumbers in the state of Wisconsin. It's probably been maybe 50 to 60, and then of those, probably about maybe 15 master plumbers have gone in business. The plumber protects the health of the nation, so it does feel good to protect people's health.
How has your business been acclimating to the bipartisan infrastructure law funding?
Well, we never imagined that we would be having this much work. So before 2021, we probably would do 100 jobs in a year, and now we might work on like 1,000 jobs this year. But we have been doing good. We appreciate the work.
And if funding were cut for this program, all the infrastructure money rolled back or discontinued, how would that affect your business?
Well, we wouldn't be able to stay busy doing water services, so all of this, the equipment that I bought and all of that would just be sitting. And you can see the ones that they've already done and patched up.
Got it.
Like this is one.
Yeah.
You can see this is the patch from one. And you can see, yeah, they've done this whole block. Yeah, this has been the busiest year on water services.
Okay. The most you've ever done in one
Yeah, this is the most
season.
I've ever done.
Wow.
When everything's going right, the job feels like this. It's a nice day and we're across the street from the park.
Sure.
And it's nice. But when it goes wrong, it'll make you want to cry out here.
Oh, man.
This is the existing water distribution that serves the building.
Okay.
So they have units upstairs. And that's the old lead service down in there. This is a meter pit.
Is it anticipated that you'll get wet on every job being a plumber?
Most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah.
Having all the lead turned to copper is good too, just because how good it worked for our bodies, copper.
You got one more year of infrastructure bill funding left. If that funding doesn't come back and goes away forever, how does that affect you and your work in doing lead service?
We need that program. It's protecting the health of the nation, and it's also helping the community because they got people from the community working.
It's only been 3 black women plumbers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Peter, Hillary, who passed away, and Shelly.
Wow.
I think it might be.
And I think I met all 3 of them too. So I'm really honored. It's an honor to be a plumber.
We believe our water is safe to drink. I don't know that the public believes us. We have aging infrastructure. Milwaukee Water Works started pumping water in 1874. We have water main piping that's been in the ground since that year. The curse of lead service lines is how durable they are. Some of them are 150 years old.
Yeah.
We've got the health concern, we've got the aging infrastructure concern. We need them removed from service. And so we're trying to do that. It is a long, arduous process. We had established a fairly substantial program prior to the bill funding, but certainly the bill funding has allowed us to expand to a much greater pace. It can't be understated how important it was that the bill law allocated funding specifically for lead service line replacement. That had never been done before. It's essential for the expansion of the lead service line program. We would not be where we are today without that bill funding. There's no doubt.
If no more funding continues at either the state or the federal level, what does that do to the city of Milwaukee in lead service line replacement work?
If the federal funding is exhausted and nothing else is put in place or there's been no extension, those are going to be very challenging conversations because the city of Milwaukee's budget, as you're aware, it's challenging every year. We've been so public about the 10 years. I shudder to think what will happen if at some point we have to have a conversation where we essentially back away from that in any way.
Yeah.
So we need more federal funding.
The bipartisan infrastructure law provides $15 billion for lead service line replacement spread across 5 years into each state's drinking water state revolving loan fund program. 51% of the dollars are to be distributed as loans that municipalities can borrow from the state, and 49% of the dollars are to be used as grants or forgivable loans that won't need to be repaid.
We have actually throughout the state have record number of apprentices right now. We're putting on more apprentices than we ever have in our history, but we still have more that want to get in. The way to do that is by creating more work.
Water is essential. I mean, without water, you don't live. When you have a service issue, it doesn't affect one person, it affects a whole community, a whole city, a whole area. So proper training, proper funding for training to make sure it happens, and the proper licensing and credentials are essential to make sure that happens.
As you may know, we have one more year of infrastructure funding left in fiscal year 26. What is that going to mean if funding is cut?
I've lived long enough where I've heard people talking about this for over 30 years now, and they've been saying, hey, we should do this, we should do it. Now they're starting to do a little bit of it, and they're starting to nibble away at that, and line by line, house by house, fixing that. And I hope they can keep the momentum up. We got a little momentum now, can continue that momentum and keep going forward on it. It's the right thing to do, and it's the right time to do it.
There's a lot of contractors that are willing to do the work. We just make sure that the funding's still there. If the funding stay consistent, there's no problem with the workers. I tell people we gotta invest in ourselves. Infrastructure is something we gotta do. It get old, and we hope that they can do another bill or something like that to invest in the United States, because that's what we're invested in. You invested in your own home.
Yeah.
If the funding's not there, unemployment get higher. We gotta be able to place guys and women to certain jobs. If the funding ain't there, more people get laid off in the construction industry, or we'll try to find them another place, because we are a union, we try to find them another place to go. You can't create more jobs if ain't no funding.
Talk to me about what it's been like being a person of color in, the building trades that has historically been white.
Man, I've been blessed. It's cool that I can get more people that look like me in the trades. It's not just about people that look like me, but it helps out, because I grew up in the 53206.
That's one of the poorest areas in the state, right?
It used to be vibrant. A lot of people don't understand. It used to be vibrant. It ain't all. When I was little, everybody worked at A.L. Smith in my neighborhood. Everybody used to walk to work. That's how close A.L. Smith was. And now, it ain't nothing but space now. So infrastructure is one of the things that you can invest in that'll help keep a lot of people work, not just operating engineers, but it tunnel down to all different type of career paths when you invest in infrastructure.
Hey, nice to meet you. Richard Diaz, BlueGreen Alliance.
Morning, Craig Ziegler, Director of the Wisconsin Labor Training Center.
Morning, it's all good to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Labor Training Center here in the city of DeForest, just north of Madison. Why don't we take a tour on inside? So as you look through here, we have various different areas that we will train our students in. This is our training area. So this would be very important for anybody that's doing underground excavations to make sure that they're safe.
So like a real world simulated experience.
Exactly, in as safe as manner as we can possibly make it.
Wow.
Yep, and since we were talking about the lead laterals, this would be a water main coming right here with the service going towards the house. You can see this is lead that we showed the students how it used to look like. And then when you see that gets taken out and the copper gets put in, so you're replacing it all for safety. I have a saying here that when you come in, you're a single blade knife. I want you to be a Swiss Army knife when you leave, which means you can do as many tasks as possible for that contractor. And if you can do that, that contractor will not want to lay you off because you can do so many things.
How much of a job creator has lead line replacement been for your union?
To quote Kent Miller, our president and business manager of the district council, we are a jobs club, right? And we are a jobs club because our members know that they are going to have family supporting jobs with great benefits and long-term career prospects. Yeah. We're at over 550 apprentices right now. So we're talking correct. So we're talking about over 25% growth in a year due to lead line lateral and other infrastructure work.
What do you want federal leaders or state leaders to know about why this funding should continue to exist for lead service line replacement?
You know, people should have access to healthy drinking water, first of all. But you know, from the workforce standpoint, with that funding, you know, it's going to help our members, you know, stay employed, have those good family supporting jobs, those benefits. So it's, you know, it's really important for those federal, state, you know, local leaders to understand that.
There's an old saying that water has no enemies. We need more things that bring our country together. And this is one where I think that Republicans and Democrats can come on the same accord on. End of the day, no matter if you're an elephant or a donkey, you're gonna go home and drink some water.
There's never been an infrastructure project that I'm aware of that got cheaper over time. There's no upside to getting him, leaving him in the ground, right? It's still a sleeping giant, if you will. And as we say, with no level of lead being safe, the faster you get them out, the cheaper it is in the long term and the better it is for the entire community.
I'm not going to be here when this ends, but I hope that when I do leave, it's on a path forward that there's some sort of confidence that we will reach that endpoint. It's an opportunity that we can't pass up.
I think sometimes we get so stuck on what the process is, and process is important, but the most important policy analysis that we need to do as we allocate and spend the money is how quickly can we replace these lead pipes. All the other stuff, I don't want to say it's unimportant, but it's certainly less important than getting lead out of the water supply.
If the lead stops, all of these things we're talking about stops. The behaviors, the IQ, the attention, the potential for incarceration. And with the pipes, that's one of the few pieces that we're really getting to the primary prevention level on. So it would be really devastating to see that progress stopped. There's no other alternative. I think that's the only way to do this.